Okay, I think that's enough time. Welcome to reading training. Everyone, thanks for being here.
Just threw my pen on the floor.
If you're not done, that's okay. No worries, it's not even graded today. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and start with a prayer, if you don't mind. Paul, can I call on you? Great, thank you.
I'm just going to
That's fair.
Heavenly Father, we're so grateful that we get to work here and to learn and to grow. We're grateful for the students that we will have, and we ask you to bless them in their preparations and in their motivation and in their desire to grow as well. We're grateful for Carrie and for all the work she's put into this training, and we ask that the Spirit be with us to help us benefit the most from it. And Lord, we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. How many of you, as you're looking around the room, see at least 3 people that are new?
This is reading. We should convert you.
Yeah, come. Okay, who sees one person that they don't know very well? Okay, 2 people, 3. Okay, so we need a little we need to introduce each other really fast. So let's do this. With your little paper, I want you to find somebody you don't know, and I want you to share something that you put for 1, 2, or 3. Okay? So you can mingle, you can stand up. Just take 1 minute. Find someone, introduce yourself, maybe tell what you're going to be teaching, and then share something from 1, 2, or 3. Well, yours then.
Okay. Great. Okay, yeah. Set your own I'm acquainted with you, but I don't know if I know you. You don't have a I get that on my pants. All the time. Well, I heard Gus was talking about it. So we'll just mess it up. Okay. Well, what should we do?
I just have
Mine is anything like potato salad. I could consider it. Yeah, I could. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know why.
No, but I understand. Are you excited?
All right. Sorry to cut it short. Good energy, though. I think it's important we know each other. Okay, so this semester, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're missing a few, but they should be coming. This semester, these are your resources. These are the other people who are teaching reading. So let's stick together, right? We're all in this together. Spontaneous. So get to know each other, share, collaborate. Do not make yourself an island, right? Teaching should be more collaborative than we sometimes make it. So share with each other. How many of you have ever seen a video called Dumb Ways to Die? Okay, 2 of you. Okay, well, I'm going to have to show you a bit in order for my other part to make any sense. It's a public service announcement for the train or the metro or something about like not playing on train tracks, but they thought of a really creative way. My health teacher showed me this video at BYU, so I'm thinking it's okay to show for a minute, right? That's my disclaimer. Now you're really interested. Okay. I'll just show you a short little minute of it, and then I'm going to show you something else. Okay. So let's see.
127.
To your hair,
It's very effective.
poke a stick at a grizzly bear. Eat medicine that's phone's out of date. Use your private parts as piranha bait. Dumb ways to die. So many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways to die. So many dumb ways to die.
Okay, you get the idea. They just do a whole bunch of scenarios like that, like just dumb ways to die, right? And then at the very end,
Your own electrical work.
Ways to die. Trash machine platform.
just talking about like being safe around trains. Okay, so now you've seen part of it. We're not going to watch the whole thing. You can go look it up later.
Definitely.
But I have to go out with something truly episodic. So for your viewing pleasure, and please don't judge. Here we go. I've never done anything like this. Okay. I made my own video, and it's called Dumb Ways to Read. Okay. So I hope it works. Let's see. I might have to just go.
You sang it, right?
I did.
Yes!
That's what happens when you get a sleep-deprived individual and you can't contact Paul Cave at 1 in the morning. You sing it yourself, so don't judge. Okay, I'm not. Oh, hold on. Okay. Backing up.
I love this so much.
Paul, if you're
Way to make yourself vulnerable. It happened like that.
Right here,
Renee
right?
down, it's like you're-
Does it work? I know, this is like the
Renee
power of vulnerability. That way you'll feel comfortable now with anything we do.
Every word out loud. Try reading your book while in a crowd. Search for all the words in a dictionary. Pray for help from the reading
You
fairy.
can sing along.
Dumb ways to read.
So many dumb ways to read.
Dumb ways to read.
Yeah.
Dumb ways to read. Oh my gosh, I'm totally using this.
Please, literally, you have to share this. I am totally playing this in my class.
Alien from outer space. Read too slowly without a rush. Read while you think about your crush. Ways to read. So many dumb ways to read. Dumb ways to read. So many dumb ways to read.
Oh man, this is a good introduction.
Work with your pen. Each text, read it
Got a little hung up.
again. In your seat, don't sit upright. Read your favorite book by
So many dumb ways to read. Dumb ways to read. So many dumb ways to read.
lips while you read. Translate every word that you see. Read every word one by one. Tell yourself that reading's no fun.
I love this.
So many dumb ways to read.
Dumb ways to read. So many dumb ways to read.
Oh,
So
I messed up on my own ending.
ways to read.
Read smartly. Well done.
Day one.
Okay.
Seriously, that's it.
Thanks for laughing, but it made me feel like it was worth it. Okay. Anyway, the point of this meeting is to help our students to avoid all the dumb ways of reading, right? And that's our purpose as a reading teacher, to help them read smartly, correctly, efficiently. That's why we're here. So how do we do that? That's the question. I lost my train of thought. Before we go into that, though, let's just get the business over with. Okay? So, here are the announcements. Rebecca is here with some announcements about, she's just going to explain about our diagnostic that we're going to have. Does everyone know what a diagnostic is? Test at the beginning of the semester to help guide your teaching and also for you to verify that they're placed correctly. So we're going to talk about diagnostics first. If you want to go and just kind of explain.
Can we stand up?
Yeah, sure. Stand up. Be vulnerable with
No,
me.
Okay. I have short legs and I have so much stuff, so it's trapped. Okay, so for reading, there are 2 diagnostics that you will be giving. There's a fluency diagnostic. Do you guys know what the fluency? How many of you have taught reading before? Okay, so perfect. So a fluency diagnostic is it's a timed reading where they read through a passage. They time how long it took them to read it. They write down their time. They will then answer some comprehension questions, and it will give you an idea of how fast they're reading compared to how much they're retaining or they can comprehend from the text. So every section, every class has one of those. In addition to the fluency, there's, we just call it the reading diagnostic. Very creative. And it tests to see what reading skills they have, so if they can preview, scan, and then it checks for comprehension at their Lexi level. So all the texts that are in the various levels of reading are set at their Lexi level for the course. So there's 4 sections. There's a scanning, nope. There's a previewing, a scanning, and then there's 2 reading comprehension sections. They are all paper. So when you get, so you're going to have 3 things in your boxes. You're going to have the fluency, which is all one. You're going to have a diagnostic for the students. Let me just show you what it looks like. So your fluency one will look something like this. You only need to make copies of, I don't know what happened here, but you only need to make copies of this section.
You don't want to give them the answers.
You do not want to give them the answers?
I did that one.
I have to go over it.
Oh, okay. And it gives you a word per minute guide. So it will tell you if they read, if they took 3 minutes to read this passage, it would be university prep. They read 330 words a minute. So you don't want them, well, I mean, you can give that to them if you want, but then here's the answer sheet. So you only need to make copies of the actual fluency part. For the reading ones that we have, the reading diagnostics, they've been separated for you. So you'll get a packet that looks like this. If this is what the heading looks like and it has a table of contents, that is for you. That is your copy. And it will show you the test sections, and it gives you the answers as well for that. But this is what you'll want to make a copy of for your students. So we'll just say University Prep Reading Diagnostic or whatever level. This is what you want to make a copy of. Copies. So reading, you're going to use lots of copies in your class. So you don't use your personal copies for this. When you fill out a green form, like Ida has here, please demonstrate. Thank you. Placement. You're going to write diagnostic at the top of your green slip, and then at the bottom where it says like special or other information, put in like Fisenko's box or put it in Aaron's box or whatever, so they know who it belongs to, but it doesn't come out of your copies. Does that make sense? Okay.
Are we allowed to make more copies than like writing teachers, for example?
I don't know how the copies work like that. I just know that for the diagnostics.
Yeah. Diagnostics take more paper, so that's why you can take it out of the ELC with Universal.
Yeah, so it won't come out of your like treasure trove, because I know when I taught reading, I used lots of supplemental texts and I was always running out of copies. Yeah. So we want to save those precious copies for you. So remember to write diagnostic at the top for
I'll just write diagnostic every week.
we're still working on figuring out where they belong in the class. But yes, so just to review, how many things will you have in your box? 3 things, okay? What are the 3 things? Fluency,
reading diagnostic, and then the answers.
Yeah, answers. And there will be a sheet too with the answers, so you can go through and write your students' names and like kind of get an idea of where they are with each task. So not as automated as Canvas, but Canvas for reading was very
It was
difficult.
tricky. Did anyone use it a couple semesters ago when we tried it?
So by my second class, I was
Got
good
it.
at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
My
Good.
first
So
class,
if
I
she
was
still wants to do it on Canvas.
rough.
Yeah, if you
she's
still,
there.
yes,
We can work that out.
we can.
Yeah, I love Canvas.
We
You
can
know.
figure it
You know
out.
me.
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Canvas.
Canvas is for
Like every time they say Canvas, I'm like, huh? What? Oh no, it's not me. It's just Canvas.
Great. If you want to take new teachers, especially if you want to look at those after this meeting, go find Rebecca. And I would recommend everybody try to run through it yourself. Don't wait until you're standing in front of the class to try to figure out how to explain it. It won't go well because they get nervous about time limits. So make sure you're familiar. And if you have questions, talk to me or Rebecca about that. Okay, thank you, Rebecca. Also, did you all get an email from Heidi Healy about self-regulation? Maybe that doesn't sound familiar. If you didn't, she sent it on the listserv last week. Maybe go back and check that out. For new teachers, we have a co-curriculum. Is that what we call it, Nick?
So yes,
We
it
all,
is now.
it is called that now. There's something called Expect Excellence and Self-Regulation, where all of us take turns teaching set lessons. So all the reading teachers will teach an Expect Excellence lesson the first week of class. And then all the reading teachers will teach the self-regulation lesson number, I can't remember off the top of my head, 3 in 2 more weeks. And those dates can be found on the ELC calendar. So the one that Arwen sent out. So if you're not sure, come talk to me after, I can help you, but just know that you're expected to present those lessons on the day that they're assigned. Yeah.
Question. So when I was teaching the self-regulated lessons,
Yeah.
they're on Canvas, but they're not on Canvas in a logical way. Like they're not named what they're named on the calendar. Is there a way to get them to be the same?
I think in the email that
They
she
tell
sent,
you?
they
She
not only tell
attached
you,
it?
but she like included both the, she attached both the documents that you
Oh.
need to teach it.
Fantastic.
So there you go. If not, I might be able to get my intern on it.
Oh,
She
okay.
could.
I don't know who your intern is, but I'm pretty sure she's pretty awesome.
Anyway, thank you. So that's self-regulation. Any more questions about that? Good. Just a reminder. Your syllabi. When is your syllabi due?
End of the first week.
Yeah. So you have the first week. We've changed that from past semesters because we used to have you turn in your syllabus and then go meet your students. It kind of seems counterintuitive. Like you can meet your students, see what their needs are, see where they're at, and then design your syllabus and then turn it in the Friday of the first week of classes. Okay? For new teachers, I'll be meeting with you individually about your syllabi. Okay?
I have a question.
Yes.
Are you going to send us like syllabi samples?
I'm not, but I can. So if you want to email,
Please.
yes, okay.
Would
Maybe
those be on
appreciate-
the teacher
We have
exchange?
some,
Or how
yeah.
do we access? Or I mean, I think we still have teacher exchange, right? But they were going to turn it into Canvas and then. I don't know what
Yeah,
happened.
no, I don't know that anything's there. You might still be able to access teacher exchange.
Yeah.
There may, I don't think, I haven't put any on Canvas, so that probably means they're not there. So, but otherwise, we can also collaborate with other teachers that have
Because
taught
I've never
before.
taught reading, so that would be helpful.
Okay, yeah, just send me an email or we can chat and collaborate after with other teachers maybe that taught your same skill. Really quickly, do you want to just say what level you're teaching?
I'm Sonia, I'm teaching Foundations B.
Okay,
Foundation C.
Foundations B.
Foundation C.
Foundation C.
there you go.
How many foundations?
Academic B.
3?
Ac A.
I don't know mine.
Okay.
Ask Ben.
Okay.
Foundations A.
Ask Ben. I
Okay.
don't know.
Academic A.
Okay, I'm gonna get, and I'm Foundations A.
Ask
Good.
B. He said I like either.
So now at least you know kind of if you've heard the same level, you can talk afterwards and share. Okay, I have a quick object lesson for you. Rebecca, can you come be my student?
Yes.
Get your banana skills out.
You can sit right down. Welcome to class, Rebecca.
Hello. I don't
Today-
know if I can say anything.
Today, you just add them. Today I want to teach you all about something I love. Bananas. I love bananas. And did you know that they're so useful? Like when they're yellow, they taste delicious. When they're spotted, you can turn them into banana bread. You can peel them, you can slice them, you can put them in smoothies. What's going on? Look, I even, this is a true banana from my freezer. So there's just so many things you can do with bananas. I'm going to teach you a few strategies about bananas and how to eat them and prepare them and cook them. Are you interested in learning about this?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Because bananas are disgusting.
What? You can go back to your seat. Okay, so what was my disconnect?
Your student was not interested.
She hates bananas, and to be honest, this one stinks. I'm wondering if I'm starting to hate them too. Yeah, she does not like bananas. So is she going to care about all the cool strategies and the ways to prepare them and how to do it and how to... So how does that relate to reading or just teaching in general? What do you think?
Well, like I used to hate reading, like with a passion. I'm a movie kind of person, you know. But for me, like if someone can convince me that the content of a book is really good and worth it, then I'm like, oh, okay, I'll read it. So that's like, at least for me, I know that reading students in the past, a lot of them have been that way as well. They they'll kind of read, but they have to know that the content is good before they are interested in the strategies and stuff like that.
Awesome. So all the strategies, all the tools, all the TOEFL tips in the whole world are not going to make a difference if we don't get them excited about it, or at least feel good, right? And somehow find it useful, find it interesting. I had one student last semester who at the end of the semester said, Ms. Drake, I hated reading before this class and now I love it. And that's kind of our goal, right? We want to get them there. Now, maybe not everyone's going to be like jumping from the rooftops, yeah, I love reading in English. But are there some things that we could do to help with that, to help give them more confidence? You're nodding your heads, and we want to hear what that is, right? Just preliminarily, what are some of your thoughts about how can we help our students? What do you think?
Well, for you as a learners, for one, is not overwhelm them with vocabulary.
Okay.
Because that alone will just stop.
Yeah.
Reading.
If it's too difficult or too much.
Ask me to read in French.
Right.
A lot of students have this idea of what reading is already. One thing that I like to do is try and open up different aspects of reading. Not everyone's going to read the same things or like the same things.
Right.
So as long as you get them to connect with the text in some way, that's going to be your biggest asset.
Yeah, great. Ethan.
Make reading relevant to their goals and what they're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you can see why this is useful. Yeah.
I think there's also something to be said about telling them that in the future, when they go to college or other things like that, like life isn't going to pander to them. Life isn't going to be like, okay, I'm going to always give you something interesting.
Yeah.
So I think there's something to be said about letting them know that they need to find appreciation in whatever they do read.
Yeah.
Look for the things that are relevant to you, and if they're not, make it, in some way like. That's more of a realist point of view, but
No, that's very true. Absolutely, you don't always get to read about mystery novels and fantasy, but
I think also like a cultural aspect, because if you want to understand the culture and understand Americans, a lot of them have certain books they've read as children or like as teenagers. I feel like they can connect more to the culture if they read those books.
yeah, great. So maybe helping them see how it's relevant to the target language culture. That's excellent. In the Reading Teacher's Handbook, which I tried to print copies and copier got bad, it's too long, so I only have a few, but we can kind of scatter them out. There's a little handbook that I just kind of dumped everything in there, and we've been working on making it more organized, but it will get better, I promise. But they're in here. I put an article, and the article is called, I don't know. Let me see.
It should be on the key.
No, I can't remember which one it was. Need the visual.
Oh, okay.
I'm a visual learner. I think it was the maybe it was the no, that's not it. Anyway, it's an article back here from the National Reading Panel. And it talks about that sometimes, this struck a chord with me because I think I've done this in the past, that our students associate reading with testing. They come to connect that reading means test, and that means I don't like it, right? And they got this disconnect to just learning to love reading, which is why in reading we have extensive and intensive, and we have both elements in our program. What is extensive reading? Oh my God.
Reading large for pleasure. Yeah.
Reading large amounts for pleasure. It's pleasure reading, right? Our students should have some choice and pick something they love to read. We can really hone in on that and focus on that and help them build that love of reading and interest. And it can be a class book, but really their own reading should be just fun, right? We shouldn't make it miserable. I think I used to kind of take all the fun out of reading sometimes where it's like constantly testing. Now, there is a good place for assessment, and we definitely need that. But if that's all they associate it with, are they going to want to eat the banana? No, right? They don't care about the banana, right? So making sure that we definitely build that in, show our own passion for that as well. But it talks about in here that sometimes they use the example of teaching swimming strategies to someone who's deathly afraid of the water. Like it's not going to work. They don't care about breaststrokes if they won't even get in, right? So just keep that in mind as we're talking today. Were there any other thoughts about how can we get our students to love reading? What do you think? How can we help them? Did we cover it pretty well? We did a good job. Okay, yeah, good job. All right, if you have any other thoughts throughout, feel free to share. One of your quiz questions, survey, sorry. One of your survey questions is, where do you place reading? Where do you rank reading? Does anyone, maybe you're too shy to share in front of everyone. Nick, go ahead.
The writing skill area coordinator, but I think reading is the #1 skill.
Yes.
Okay, why do you think, this comes from the man who loves to teach writing. Why do you think that, Nick?
Because, as Dr. Anderson once said, it's the central skill.
And what do you know? We have his diagram right here. Now, this is Dr. Anderson's diagram, and where is reading in the whole curriculum? It's right in the middle. It's the heart of learning. Why? Why do you think? Couldn't you just go listen to music and learn English that way, or why is it?
It's the most consistent form of input. It's something that they can acquire vocabulary with, and just something that they can see different sentence structures with. It's just a very, very valuable and reliable way of input.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was just doing the OPI training last week, and they talked about, novice, intermediate, advanced, and superior. And they said, no matter how fluent someone is in a language, you need a certain level of education to be able to attain superior. Yeah. It doesn't matter how good you are. And so so reading is such like a great consistent source of just flat out knowledge and education. That's how you learn about issues. That's how you learn about these abstract concepts later on. And so if you don't have a firm grasp on reading, how can you obtain the education necessary to become a superior level speaker, reader, writer?
Absolutely. Amen. Yeah. Any other thoughts? I'm going to start. Okay, so we know it's pretty important, right? I always tell my students it's the best way to learn new vocabulary. It just is, because you get exposed to the language in different contexts. You can see authentic materials, you can see how words are used, and it sticks a little bit better too that way when you can see it in the context. The next, I didn't put it in here. Yes, I did. Oh, there it is. Okay. So one of the other questions on your survey was name the 5 aspects of reading instruction. Can you do it without looking at my chart?
No. I was missing.
No. Anybody name all 5? Okay, no, this is awesome. Okay, it's been a while. This is good that we're talking about it then. Okay, I went to a job interview once for
Reading.
No, it was Imagine Learning. Oh. This was years ago. And they asked me in my interview, and it was to help develop curriculums, and they said, okay, so what are the 5 aspects of reading instruction? And I was thinking of Dr. Anderson's class, and I'm phonics, fluency, we talked about that a lot. So at the time, it wasn't very clear, and yet here we are teaching reading and not knowing. So I think it's super important to understand the foundation of reading. So this is what we refer to as top down, right? And this is what we refer to as bottom up. strategies. So starting from the top, the ultimate purpose, the whole goal of reading is what? Comprehension, that's it. In your classes, your textbook is to help you to be a tool to teach comprehension, right? We're going to come back to this in just a second. Next is vocabulary, right? We just talked about how reading's a great way to get vocabulary. Learning how to get it from context, acquiring new words, searching, that kind of thing. So next, fluency, which, what is the fluency goal for the ELC?
200 words per minute.
200 words per minute with 70% comprehension, but what's the little thing at the end? What kind of text?
At level.
At level, right? Level improvement. How do you know what's at level for your class? Good question. Okay, Lexile is a great measurement. It's not a perfect measurement, but it's definitely a good starting place. Lexile tells how difficult a text is. In the reading handbook, we have a whole section on Lexile levels for each level. So you can go there and look and see what kind of level should my class be at. And there are tools to help you figure out Lexiles. Yeah.
Would you, we're getting that, right? Eventually?
Yeah, I will email it to you for sure, and I have a few hard
Okay.
copies. Let's just kind of scatter them around. Actually, Rebecca, you can
So
have the
you do
incomplete
have,
one.
have a PDF version?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. We'll just
Good choice.
share Z. Okay.
She doesn't like
So in the handbook, you can go there. You can also talk to me or other teachers about that. But finding something that's level appropriate. When choosing a book, a good rule of thumb, I tell my students, if you don't want to go into the Lexile Analyzer and analyze the Lexile, if they're picking a book for their extensive reading for fun, to learn to like the bananas, okay, then a good rule of thumb is if there are more than 5 words on a page that you don't know, it's too hard for extensive reading. It's too hard. If there's only 1 or none on a page, it's too easy. That's kind of just a simple guideline you can help your students know when they're picking books. Other 2 areas are phonics and phonemic awareness. When I talk, I have the rhythm of Dumb Ways to Die going through my head, like everything I'm saying. Okay, so yeah, we've got phonics, phonemic awareness. What is the difference between these 2? You can use the handbook if you want.
Oh, yeah.
In the very back, there's an article called The 5 Components of Reading Instruction.
There are no page numbers. That is something they're working on.
Yeah, sorry, no page numbers. Phonemic awareness versus phonics. What is that? What are phonemes? The sounds. So phonemic awareness would just be recognizing sounds in the language, right? So we don't spend tons of time on that in our program because most of our students already have phonemic awareness, but there are some things you could do, and this article that's in the back of the packet has some good tips. So I would refer you to that article in there. And then phonics is sounds mixed with letters, right? So how do we read that? That's the topic. So we're going to come back, talk about some of these, but first I want to start with comprehension, and we're going to do it's share time. So I'm going to have Sarah, let's just kind of share how she uses her textbook to teach to the course outcomes. By the way, do you all know how to access the course outcomes?
ELC website.
Yes, the ELC website.
Teachers.
So if you don't know where to find it, you can come to teachers and then go to the curriculum portfolio and then click on up here at the top. It says level descriptors and then it has the individual courses. So this is like the level as a whole. This is what they should be able to do at that level. If you go to your course, you can click on a class. Who wants me to click on theirs?
Ooh, Foundation C.
Okay, Foundation C. Here we go. So this tells you what your students should be able to do. So when you're designing your syllabus, when you're designing your activities, when you're picking what to teach from your textbook, this should be your guiding force. Which of the outcomes is this going to help me accomplish? And so Sarah's just going to share, what does that look like for her? How does she use a textbook and her outcomes? Like, how would she select activities from her textbook? Turn the time, Sarah.
So, I have not taught foundation reading in probably 4 years. So, my examples will be from academic level text, but the principles are still the same. So, so for example, it seems really scary at the beginning to teach reading because there's a lot of things to do in the reading skill. But one of the things that has really helped me is just going through the text, not chapter by chapter or page by page, but at the beginning of at least the Quest textbooks in the academic program, there are different strategies and other things which can align with the specific things. Like, for example, let me find one. There was one. Finding, like, even in chapter 1, has finding the main idea. And it's like a little tiny box, but it gives you a good idea, and the students a good idea on what that's about. And as I go through each of my classes, I make sure that I don't follow faithfully to the book. Sometimes I'll go back and forth, just depending. But I always make sure that I align each of the learning outcomes with the things in the textbook that match up. Sometimes they're not always in the textbook, in which you can use other supplemental materials like this one. It's a really useful source for that because it has tons and tons of reading strategies. And you can adapt it for lower and higher levels. But basically it gives your students a way to do something like, let me here real quickly. Like, for example, successfully implementing reading strategies. These give multiple types of activities that students can do for these types of strategies. And so if you don't like one in particular, you don't have to stick with it. There's lots of different ways that you can do the objectives, teaching them different ways and different strategies that they can do that. So those are just some of the things that I've done.
Awesome. Any questions for Sarah?
Where can we, is that in the?
Yes, this is in the teacher resource library. There are 2 copies.
I have one right here if you want to look at it.
Then 3.
Sarah 3. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Sarah. That can definitely be overwhelming, don't you think, when you're like, okay, I don't know how to teach this class. I've got this textbook. Don't feel like you have to teach every single thing in the textbook. It's there to help you, right? So what is it? Textbook was created for the teacher, not the teacher for the textbook. So, right? So remember that as you're preparing. And I mean, it gives you a good place to start, right? You can say, even on your calendar, you can say, okay, I'm going to talk about chapter 1 this week. But then go through and see what is it that really fits into my course objectives. Helpful? Questions?
I just have one more thing. And the objectives don't say anything about fluency, but that's like a really important part that we stress at the ELC. If you are struggling coming up with reading passages that are, I don't know, like what you think are level appropriate, use stuff from the text. You can use things right from the text and then use that as a fluency rather than having to go out and get supplemental materials if you're in a crunch or you don't know what to do.
Good. Thank you. It does talk about fluency. I'm just not sure where this is you read. I didn't see it on that page. So, but yes. Also, this is kind of interesting guide when you're planning your classes or your weeks. How much time should we spend reading in the reading class or focused on reading? 80% of our time. How much time should be focused on vocabulary? 15% of our time. And what about pronunciation? That is an element.
Why is that?
Why?
Yeah, I've never heard of pronunciation being part of a reading class.
Reading out loud.
Yeah,
So-
number 4.
Yeah. Read aloud with comprehensible pronunciation. So that's why.
Deal.
Good. But it's a small part. It's not the biggest part, but it's a part, right? Very good. Okay. One of your questions talked about comprehension strategies, right? Which of this pyramid do you want to spend more time on? Like, what are some of the reading pyramid? We can share ideas about all the areas, or we can make it efficient for you. Nick?
I was thinking the approach would probably depend on the level too.
That is true.
With the lower levels, you really want to solidify that base and make sure that they, have that really strong letter sound and weird thing. Whereas at the higher levels, you can kind of work more at the top.
Definitely.
But But you can't always assume that there's that association either.
Yeah. So in general, yeah, definitely at the lower levels, they're just emerging. So we're going to focus a lot on top up, I'm saying it wrong, bottom up. It's not coming out right, I know it, okay. Bottom up, and then higher levels, obviously you're focused a lot on the top down. But making sure we have something incorporated in all areas, something, right? Very good. But for you right now, as a group of teachers, where would you like to spend our time sharing ideas? Because we can talk about any one, we can talk about several of them for our remaining time. Ethan?
Well, I don't know where it fits in, but how people go about teaching different strategies, reading strategies, I think that might fall in more under comprehension. But
yeah,
because I've always been kind of, how do I teach skimming and scanning? How do I find the materials to do that?
Okay.
So just
great. Let's start with just a little share. Like, let's take Ethan's question and just kind of generate some ideas, and then we'll share together in like 1 minute. So you can look in the handbook. Maybe there's something useful in there if you have one. I have an extra one here.
book?
Um,
Yeah, you do the
This
master teacher.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I've got books here. Let's take a minute or two. Let's brainstorm some ideas. How do you teach reading comprehension? What are some strategies? What are some resources that we could use to help teach that? So take a couple minutes. You can read alone or talk with a neighbor. Let's generate some ideas. Thank you for that
I
suggestion.
think I had an idea like last night before I went to bed. I can't remember what it was, but it was colors. What was it? I think I was gonna have them on pictures, and so I like stand up and show people like where it was, like they could only go like this, like really fast, and then like you can see them like
yeah.
then we talked about it, and
what I ended up doing is I had
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, this is more already stated.
And then what I would do is go through it together really fast. And then I would yeah, that's all we gotta work through it, and then here's another test.
Every 30 seconds.
And then when I show them motivated, it's all class, and then
Okay, let's share a few. There was some great energy, so let's share some of what did you talk about? Where can you go to find resources for teaching reading strategies, and maybe some ideas how to teach them? What did you talk about?
Rebecca shared a great one.